I hadn't planned on flying home for New Year's. It was a last-minute decision, triggered by this weird gut feeling I couldn't explain. I was supposed to be in Cancun with some friends, sipping margaritas and forgetting the stress of a hellish year. But instead, I traded my beach chair for a cramped economy seat, headed to my childhood home in Indiana. When I pulled up to the house, it was already snowing hard. The driveway wasn't shoveled, no lights were on, and the front porch light flickered like something out of a horror movie. It didn't feel like home anymore. Not since Mom married Ron and everything changed. I used my key, stepped inside, and was hit by the silence. No music, no TV, no smells of cooking. Just stillness. Then I saw him. My dad. Sitting alone at the kitchen table. One paper plate in front of him with a single, soggy sandwich, white bread, barely any meat, crust still on. No drink, no sides, no care. His eyes lifted when he saw me. A slow smile stretched across his face, tired and lopsided. "They're not here," he said. "Been gone 2 days." I walked over, heart in my throat. "Where's Mom? Where's Ron?" He pointed to the fridge. There was a sticky note, written in my mother's handwriting. It said, "We used your Christmas deposit for NYC. Ron got us a great deal. Watch your father for the week." Just like that. Like I was some kind of unpaid babysitter. Like my money was just there for the taking. And she didn't even bother to ask. I looked at Dad. He was thinner than I remembered. Eyes sunken. The house was cold. Blankets were piled up on the couch like he'd been sleeping there instead of in his own bed. "How long have you been alone?" I asked. He shrugged. "Since Christmas Eve." I clenched my fists. That was a week ago. A whole damn week. Dad leaned forward, hands folded like he was about to share a secret. "They'll regret this," he whispered, voice rough. I didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then I smiled. "Yeah," I said. "They will." 3 days later, they were at my mercy. But let me back up. That night, after I made Dad a real dinner, meatloaf, mashed potatoes, gravy, the works, we sat down and really talked for the first time in years. Not just surface-level stuff, either. The kind of conversation you can only have when no one else is around to interrupt or judge. He told me things I didn't know. About the divorce. About why he never fought back when Mom dragged him through court, took the house, took everything. About how Ron had wormed his way into our lives before Dad was even gone. About how my mother slowly turned me against him, not overtly, but through little comments, guilt trips, emotional edits to the past. "I didn't want to drag you through it," he said. "Didn't want you to hate her. I thought if I just waited it out, maybe one day." He looked down at his hands. "I thought you'd come back." I had to get up and walk away. Because I didn't want him to see me cry. All that time I thought he was weak. Passive. A sad old man who gave up. But sitting with him that night, I realized he wasn't weak. He was protecting me from something I hadn't seen until now. And now? Now I saw everything. The next morning, I checked my bank account. Sure enough, the $2,000 I'd sent my mother to help cover holiday expenses was gone. I saw the Venmo trail. $2,000 transferred to her, and a string of transactions from Times Square restaurants, Broadway tickets, hotel stays. I didn't get angry. I got quiet. Because anger wouldn't fix this. But plans would. The first thing I did was call a lawyer I knew from college. Her name was Shay. She worked in elder law and family estate disputes now, and she owed me a favor. I told her I needed to check if there had been any recent changes to my dad's will, power of attorney, or healthcare directive. My gut told me something was off. Shay pulled a few strings and called me back 3 hours later. "You're not going to like this," she said. Apparently, 6 months ago, Ron, my stepfather, had gotten my dad to sign over durable power of attorney. Under the pretense of helping with medical stuff. The paperwork was clean, the signatures were there, notarized and everything. I knew my dad never would have understood what that meant. And I was right. When I told him, he just blinked. He said it was just in case I got sick. Yeah, of course he did. It wasn't just negligence now. It was premeditated control, legal manipulation. And my mom had signed off on it. "Don't worry," I told Dad. "We're going to take care of it. Just trust me." And he did. The next step was a little less legal. I had an old friend named Kevin who worked in corporate IT, the kind of guy who could spoof emails, clone phones, and make a digital footprint disappear with a smile. I sent him screenshots of the bank transfers, the note on the fridge, and a copy of the POA documents. Then I told him exactly what I wanted to do. "You sure about this?" he asked. "It'll cause hell." "That's the point," I said. And it was. By the third day, the trap was set. Ron and my mother had no idea what they were walking into. They thought they were coming home to a house they still controlled. A man they could keep in the corner, half-fed and half-herd. A son too spineless to speak up. But they had no idea what I'd uncovered. No clue what they were about to lose. And they were already standing on the edge. They just didn't know it yet. They got back late. The kind of late that says you didn't want to come home. Around 11:40 p.m., I saw headlights crawl up the driveway. I didn't say anything to Dad. He was dozing off on the couch with the blanket I'd brought down from my old room. He looked warmer now. Fuller. Like he finally remembered how it felt to be treated like a person. I stood near the front door, arms crossed, as the engine cut. I heard giggling Mom's voice, a high-pitched hum laced with wine. Ron's too, booming and smug, like the sound of someone who thought he owned the house he'd stolen piece by piece. The door opened, and there they were, still wearing their I Love NYC hoodies. Shopping bags from Macy's and Saks Fifth Avenue. Mom had a glossy bag from some Fifth Avenue jewelry boutique swinging from her wrist like it was nothing. "Oh," she said when she saw me. "You're still here." Still. Like I was the one squatting in her vacation home. I didn't answer. Just stared at them. Ron grunted. "You leave the heat on? Smells like beef or something." He sniffed, nose wrinkling, as if a cooked meal offended him. Dad stirred behind me. He sat up, looked around groggily, and blinked at them. "You're back early." We extended, Mom said casually, brushing snow from her coat. But then the hotel kicked everyone out early for New Year's prep. Parade and all that. It was a mess. She looked at me like I should apologize for the inconvenience. I didn't say a word. Not yet. But I'd already made the call. That morning, I'd filed for emergency revocation of the power of attorney. Shay expedited everything. The petition was strong. Emotional neglect, financial abuse, and willful abandonment of a dependent adult. The photos I took, of the sandwich, the empty fridge, Dad in 3 layers of clothes under a torn blanket, made it even stronger. Then we filed an injunction to freeze any financial activity under Dad's name until the case was reviewed. Ron's little bank-hopping days were over. And then came Kevin's part. While Mom and Ron were in Times Square watching the ball drop, Kevin cloned Ron's email. He'd been dumb enough to use the same credentials across sites and quietly rerouted certain communications. Like the gift Ron tried to send himself from Dad's retirement fund, or the message to a real estate agent about listing the house. Yeah, he was trying to sell it. "You get my note?" Mom asked now, peeling off her gloves. "Sorry for springing that on you, but we didn't want to pay a nurse over the holidays. And Ron said you weren't doing anything important." Ron chuckled. "Come on, it's just your dad. You two used to be close, right?" I smiled. "We are now." That made Ron stop mid-step. Mom tilted her head. "What does that mean?" Before I could answer, there was a knock at the door. 3 sharp raps. I opened it without looking. Shay stepped inside, a clipboard in hand, flanked by a court-appointed social worker and a uniformed officer from Adult Protective Services. "Mr. Hawkins?" Shay said, addressing Ron with that icy professional calm. "I'm here on behalf of your father-in-law, Mr. Glenn Thatcher. You've been named in a petition for financial abuse, elder neglect, and unauthorized use of fiduciary control. This is a court order to cease all activity regarding his estate, assets, or health decisions until further notice." Ron's face turned red. "Wait, what the hell is this?" Mom blinked. "Excuse me. You might want to sit down," Shay said, walking past them. "There's quite a bit to go over." The next 30 minutes were chaos. Ron started yelling, demanding to see a judge, calling everything a mistake. He tried to accuse me of forging the documents, until the officer told him he was being watched under a temporary restraining order from accessing any part of Dad's finances, home decisions, or personal belongings. Mom turned on me faster than I expected. "I can't believe you do this," she spat. "We're your family. After everything we did for you." "Everything you did for me?" I laughed once. "You mean like stealing $2,000 from me without asking? Leaving your ex-husband in a freezing house with nothing but a sandwich? Or was it using his name to sell the home you didn't even buy?" She flinched. "You have no idea what Ron has done for this family," she hissed. "Oh, I do," I said. "That's why I made sure the judge will too." Ron tried to push past me at one point, tried to get to his office, probably to destroy something, but the officer blocked him. Told him any attempt to tamper with documents would result in charges. Ron backed down. For now. But I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't done. And neither was I. That night, I stayed up going through Dad's paperwork with him. He was confused at first. Not because of memory, just emotionally. like he couldn't believe someone was finally fighting for him. You really think they'll get in trouble? He asked quietly. They already are, I said. And it's only going to get worse. I showed him the frozen accounts, the flagged insurance withdrawals. The email chain Kevin uncovered showing Ron trying to convince a realtor that Dad had early onset confusion and wouldn't be around much longer. Dad looked down at the papers. They really thought I was that far gone. No, I said. They just hoped no one would notice. And for years, no one had. The next morning, I got a call from Shay. We've got a problem, she said. Your stepfather just lawyered up, and they're counterfiling, alleging you're manipulating your father to take control of his assets. I laughed. That's ironic. Yeah, well, dirty fights don't care about irony. She sighed. They're also pushing for a psych eval. If your dad fails it, they'll argue you influenced him. I looked over at Dad, sitting peacefully in the sunroom, sipping coffee, a blanket around his shoulders. I'll get him ready, I said. Let them come. But inside, I was boiling. They were escalating. So I would too. They thought they could fake loyalty and win. They had no idea what I knew next. Because while they were in NYC celebrating, I found the letter. The one Ron thought he burned. I found the letter by accident. It was stuffed in the back of my dad's old desk drawer, behind faded receipts and a stack of expired coupons. I wasn't even looking for it. I was digging for his birth certificate to prepare for the psych eval. But there it was, folded in half, smudged, a bit singed at the corner, like someone had started to burn it but didn't follow through. The handwriting wasn't my dad's. It was neat, precise, female. I read it once, then again, and then I had to sit down. Because everything I thought I understood about my mother, Ron, and their timeline, it all broke apart in those 3 short paragraphs. Dear Glenn, I'm sorry I never told you the truth. I was scared. Scared of what he'd do to me, what he might do to you. But I can't live with it anymore. The money you gave me to fix the roof, I didn't use it. Ron took it. He said if I didn't lie to you, he'd go to HR about that thing in '97. I know you remember. I know it wasn't your fault. But the way he talked about it, like it was leverage. Like he could twist it. He scares me, Glenn. He watches me when you're not home. I think he's waiting for something. I know I messed up, but I never wanted this. Molly. My mother. Molly Thatcher. I stared at the name. Couldn't believe she wrote it. That she admitted it. That she knew. She knew what kind of man Ron was, and she still married him. Still let him worm his way into Dad's finances. Into our home. Into me. I didn't tell Dad right away. Not because I wanted to hide it. I just needed to think. To figure out how deep this went. The thing in '97? I had no idea what that meant. But Dad did. When I finally brought it up, he stiffened. His eyes narrowed like he was watching a memory replay behind my shoulder. There was an intern, he said slowly. When I was working at the logistics firm. Did something happen? He shook his head. No. That's the thing. Nothing happened. But she accused me of making her uncomfortable. Said I stared too long. HR cleared me. But I still took a hit. Got reassigned. Lost my bonus. He rubbed his hands together like he could scrub the story off his skin. Ron worked there, he added. Back then. In a different department. I didn't think he even knew. But he had known. And he'd used it. Not to get Dad fired. To control him. And Mom had let him. That night, I printed the letter, copied it, scanned it. I sent a digital version to Shay. Her response was immediate. This changes everything. Now we didn't just have proof of financial abuse. We had motive, coercion, emotional manipulation. The kind of evidence that unraveled power of attorney in a judge's eyes like toilet paper in the rain. Shay moved fast. Filed a new motion. Attached the letter. Argued that Ron had knowingly manipulated both parties, Mom and Dad, into silence through intimidation. We scheduled a hearing for the end of the week. But then Ron made his next move. I was coming back from the grocery store. Stocking up for the week. Dad had finally requested something, his favorite coffee, the kind with the red label. It felt like progress. I pulled into the driveway and saw Ron's car already parked. He was standing at the front door, banging on it, yelling something I couldn't make out. I got out of the car and ran. Hey, he turned, eyes wild. You think you're going to take him away from us? From me? He was sweating, face flushed, hair messed up like he'd been clawing at his scalp. You're brainwashing him, he screamed. That old man can't even take a piss without supervision. I stepped between him and the door. Leave. Now. He jabbed a finger at me. You think you're better than us? You're just some little overpaid brat playing hero. You abandoned him too. That part hit. Because it was true. But then Dad opened the door. And he saw Ron. And for the first time in years, I saw fury in my father's eyes. Don't come back, Dad said. His voice was steady. Cold. You don't speak for me anymore. Ron flinched. You're confused, he started. I'm not, Dad snapped. You are. I turned to Ron. You have 30 seconds to leave, or I call the cops. He left. Tires screeched. Snow sprayed. And still, he looked back like it wasn't over. Because to him, it wasn't. But it was to us. We'd just taken back everything. The psych eval went better than I could have hoped. The doctor sat with Dad for over 2 hours. Asked questions, ran memory games, checked cognition. Afterward, she pulled me aside. He's sharp, she said. Not perfect, but better than most his age. He knows who he is. Who you are. What's happened? He's aware. She paused. And he's hurt. I know, I said quietly. Then don't stop, she said. Keep pushing. Later that night, Dad and I sat in the living room again. He was quiet, but not in a broken way. Just thoughtful. You think a judge will really believe all this? He asked. I looked at him. We're not asking them to believe it, I said. We're going to show them. He nodded slowly. I didn't think I'd get another chance. You didn't, I said. We took it. And we did. But Ron wasn't finished. He had one more card to play. And when he played it, he nearly destroyed everything. The hearing was set for Monday morning. That Friday, we felt like we were winning. Shay was confident. Dad was sharper than ever. And I'd even managed to track down the old HR report from '97 to corroborate the letter. We had every document, signature, and statement we needed. Then Saturday came. And the bomb dropped. I woke up to find a police cruiser outside the house. 2 officers stood at the front door, one male, one female, both stiff-faced and professional. Dad was still asleep upstairs. I cracked the door open. You Andrew Thatcher? The male officer asked. Yeah. We've received a report of elder abuse. Anonymous tip. I felt my stomach drop. What? Claim states you're financially exploiting your father. Withholding medications. Keeping him from seeing family. We need to check the premises. Now. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Ron. It had to be Ron. A last-ditch smear move. I stepped aside. Be my guest, I said. They searched everything. Looked through the kitchen, bathroom, medicine cabinet, bedroom. Took notes. Asked Dad a series of questions, gently but firmly. Does your son restrict your phone access, Mr. Thatcher? No. Have you been denied any food, medication, or contact with others? No. Just peace and quiet. The female officer asked him if he felt safe. Dad looked at me for a long moment, then answered, safer than I've been in 10 years. They left with apologies. Said they had to follow protocol. That the tipster insisted on anonymity, but the file would reflect no probable cause and a well-maintained living environment. But the damage wasn't about the house. It was about the accusation. And I knew Ron planned to twist it in court. Frame it as multiple reports of concern. Make it look like there were 2 sides. So I played my last card. Sunday morning, I drove to the nursing home where Ron's mother, my step-grandmother, lived. She was 82, sharp as a tack, and hadn't spoken to Ron in almost a year. Why now? She asked, frowning at me over her knitting. Because I think you know who your son really is, I said. She didn't answer right away. Then she reached into a box by her bed and pulled out a yellowing photo, a picture of her and Ron when he was 10. He used to hide the family dog's food, she said, just to watch it panic. I blinked. She wasn't smiling. He told me once that people only do what you let them get away with, she continued. I knew he was mean, but I didn't think he'd end up like this. She pulled out an old notebook. Inside were dates, comments, records of things Ron had said or done from childhood into adulthood. Why keep this? I asked. I figured one day someone would need it. She signed a statement. With names, dates, notes on how Ron manipulated finances when his father passed, how he alienated friends, how he talked about my mom as his investment. I scanned every page. Sent it to Shay. This is the nail in the coffin, she replied. Monday morning arrived, and we walked into that courtroom ready. Ron and my mother sat on the opposite bench, smug and confident. His lawyer, a corporate bulldog named Vic Remlin, tried everything. Accused me of staging the abuse photos. Said Dad was clearly impaired. Alleged coercion. Then Shay stood and tore it all apart. She presented the forged bank transfers, the letter, the HR report, the elderly care officer's clean report, and finally, the notebook, handwritten, dated, signed by Ron's own mother. Ron's face didn't flinch until the last 5 minutes. That's when Shay dropped the recording. Kevin had intercepted a voicemail Ron left for a friend 2 weeks prior, full of cocky gloating about how the old man'll be gone soon anyway, and Andy's too soft to fight back. It played in that courtroom, echoing like a death sentence. The judge leaned back in her chair, stone-faced. "There is a clear pattern of manipulation and financial exploitation here," she said. "The power of attorney is hereby revoked. A new fiduciary agent, Andrew Thatcher, is appointed. Effective immediately." She looked over at Ron. "And Mr. Hawkins, I advise you to find legal counsel for the upcoming civil hearing, because this court is forwarding the matter to the state attorney." Outside, Mom tried to talk to me. "You have no idea what you've done," she said, voice trembling. "No," I said. "I know exactly what I did." She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She just walked away, silent beside Ron, who for the first time looked small. Powerless. Dad and I drove home. No words for a while. Just the sound of tires on snow, heater humming. Then, finally, he said, "You didn't have to do all that. Not for me." I looked at him. "Yeah," I said. "I did. Because the truth is, I had abandoned him. For years. Let myself believe the story I was told. That he was weak. Worthless. A relic. But he wasn't. He was just quiet. And now, he'd been hurt. A few months later, I moved him into a new place. Small, but warm. Near me. With people who actually gave a damn. I visit twice a week. We talk more than we ever did when I was a kid. He's laughing again. Eating full meals. Wearing socks that match. And Ron. He's facing 3 counts of financial exploitation, plus a fraud charge tied to the fake home sale contract. Mom hasn't called, but I'm okay with that. Because New Year's gave me the reset I didn't know I needed. And the revenge I didn't know I was ready for.